What changed after I started this medication? This is one of the most practical questions in home tracking. After I started this medication, what actually changed? The screen examples in this video use the 1-year mock data file included with the app by Werner Tools and Chris Werner, so what you see here is a workflow demonstration, not a claim about your own medical record. The app's role is to anchor the medication date, split the timeline into before and after windows, and compare blood pressure, glucose, weight, latest values, trend slope, and any matched lab context. That gives you a disciplined way to ask what changed without pretending that one number or one day can answer it alone. The medication start date has to be visible first. A medication question only works if the date is real and visible. The medication and event entry screen is where you keep treatment starts, stops, supplements, and routine changes attached to actual dates. Then the begin selector lets you choose the event that starts the comparison window. That matters because if you cannot point to the exact start date, you can easily mix pre-medication readings into the post-medication story and call it a result when it is really just a memory error. You also need the right end date before you trust the result. The end date matters just as much. The end selector closes the window at the next meaningful event so one block captures one phase instead of bleeding into the next treatment change. The row analysis screen then summarizes the window with averages, latest values, trend slope, and any same range lab matches. That is important because a medication can look more effective or less effective than it really was if the block accidentally includes a second change that happened later. Walking was the first change, and the result was mostly flat. The sample file starts with a lifestyle change, walking 30 minutes daily. Compared with the earlier block, blood pressure was basically flat at 140/79 before versus 140/78 after. Average glucose improved only slightly from 141.9 to 139.8 mg per deciliter, and weight was essentially unchanged. That makes this a useful example of why the app matters. It prevents you from turning a mild mixed block into a dramatic success story. Psyllium looked modestly better, but still mixed. The next event in the sample is 5 grams daily of psyllium husk. Compared with the prior block, average blood pressure shifts from 140/78 to 139/81. Average glucose slides from 139.8 down to 137.3. Average weight moves from 245.8 to 245.4 pounds. That is the kind of mixed result people often oversimplify. The app keeps all three measures visible so a modest glucose and weight improvement does not hide the less favorable diastolic change. Tamsulosin was the clearer downward shift. The first prescription example is tamsulosin, 0.4 mg nightly. Compared with the psyllium block before it, average blood pressure improves from 139/81 to 136/79. Average glucose falls from 137.3 to 130.6 mg per deciliter, while weight is essentially flat. This block also includes one matched fasting glucose lab date, and the report labels the reading -2.2% versus the lab, very close agreement. That does not prove cause, but it does make the observed glucose direction more credible. Metformin ER showed the strongest drop in the sample. Metformin ER, 500 mg nightly, is the strongest signal in the sample sequence. The block before metformin averaged 136/79 for blood pressure, 130.6 mg per deciliter for glucose, and 245.5 pounds for weight. The metformin block averages 130/76, 118.6 mg per deciliter, and 245.2 pounds. If you were asking whether something changed after this medication start, this is the clearest yes in the walkthrough. Do not confuse a better block with proof of causation. The limitation matters here. These blocks show association across dated windows, not guaranteed cause and effect. Some windows are short, some have no lab values, and the treatments overlap. Walking, psyllium, tamsulosin, and metformin are stacked across the year, so each new block inherits the context created by what came before it. The notes and plot views are useful because they remind you to look at trend direction, variability, and consistency before turning a pattern into a claim. Use the report before the doctor visit, not during it. This is where the workflow becomes practical. The doctor visit button and report flow help you save the exact range you reviewed so you can bring the before and after comparison into the appointment. That means you do not have to reconstruct the story from memory while sitting in the waiting room. You can show what dates were compared, what blood pressure and glucose did across those windows, and where the result looked clear versus mixed. About the app, privacy, and where to get it. Therapy Impact and Glucose Analyzer is by Werner Tools and Chris Werner. It is a Windows desktop application for personal tracking of blood pressure, glucose, weight, medications, and dated lab results. Privacy is straightforward because the workflow is built around local files on your computer, and the app does not upload your readings, reports, exports, or backups to cloud services. The full app can be obtained on Etsy for $9.95. Use the link shown on screen, etsy.com/listing/451-336-5729, or scan the QR code shown here.